Life is full of signals. There are the green lights, those smooth roads where everything seems to fall into place, where opportunities align and doors open. We've all been there, riding high, with everything falling into place. But life's not all green. Sometimes we face the yellow lights, the pauses, the moments of doubt, the need to slow down and reconsider our direction. And of course, there are the red lights, those stops that hit us when we least expect them. The hard moments, the failures, the heartbreaks. But here's the thing Matthew McConaughey teaches us. If we look closely enough, every single one of those red and yellow lights eventually turns green. The obstacles, the setbacks, the moments when the world seems to push against us, they're often the universe telling us that the green light is coming. That what seems like a failure today could be the blessing we'll see tomorrow. Greenlights isn't your typical memoir. It's not about looking back with nostalgia, nor is it a preachy self-help book. No, this is McConaughey's guide to understanding how life's challenges and victories aren't opposites but part of the same road. It's a blueprint for recognizing the green lights, not just the ones handed to us, but the ones we create ourselves. So buckle up, because this journey through McConaughey's life, his stories, his lessons, and the green lights he's discovered will change the way you see life, and maybe even show you how to turn your own red lights into green ones. Matthew McConaughey, you probably know him as an Oscar-winning actor, famous for his roles in Dallas Buyers Club, Interstellar, and of course, for that legendary catchphrase, "All right, all right, all right." But McConaughey introduces us to a side of himself that's deeper and more reflective. Not the Hollywood icon, but the man who has spent decades searching for meaning in his own life, writing his thoughts down, trying to understand the chaos and beauty of it all. For 35 years, McConaughey kept journals, not just random notes, but detailed accounts of his life, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. The ups and downs of fame, love, loss, success, failure, and the personal struggles that we all face. Over time, these journals became more than just reflections. They became blueprints for his personal growth, and eventually, the inspiration behind this book. Why? Because McConaughey realized that the lessons he had learned, the ones buried in the pages of his journals, were universal. Life, he says, is filled with signals, and while it's easy to spot the green lights, the moments when life is moving in your favor, it's the red and yellow lights, the challenges that teach us the most. They are the hidden green lights, the ones that, when looked at from the right perspective, guide us toward greater success. The core message of Greenlights is simple yet profound. Life isn't about avoiding obstacles or trying to make everything easy. It's about learning how to see the green lights in all of life's signals, even when they're disguised as challenges. McConaughey doesn't just want you to succeed, he wants you to understand that every roadblock is a chance for growth, every setback a setup for a breakthrough. This book, Greenlights, is his way of sharing these lessons learned from an unconventional, often difficult journey that, in hindsight, has led him to a place of understanding and peace. And now, he's showing us how we can turn our own red and yellow lights into green lights. Chapter 1. Outlaw. Logic. Life, for Matthew McConaughey, was never about following a straight line. It was about embracing the curveballs and creating your own path, one that might not always make sense to others, but made perfect sense to him. Growing up in a small town in Texas, McConaughey was raised by two strong, fiercely independent parents, who had their own unique takes on life. His father, James, was a man of big ideas, big actions, and a philosophy that was as straightforward as it was unconventional. He raised McConaughey to believe that if you didn't break a few rules, you weren't really living. James was a football coach who had a reputation for pushing his players hard. He was demanding but not unkind, tough but fair, and, most importantly, he showed McConaughey that life's toughest lessons were learned through adversity. From him, McConaughey learned that resilience was not something that came naturally, it was something you had to build over time. Piece by piece, failure after failure. His father didn't always sit down and give lectures. Instead, he allowed McConaughey to figure things out on his own, giving him the space to make mistakes and learn from them. One of the lessons that stuck with McConaughey from his father was the idea of creating your own path. James didn't believe in doing things because that's how they had always been done. He encouraged McConaughey to break free from traditional expectations, to forge ahead even if it meant going against the grain. This attitude shaped McConaughey's outlook on life, especially as he entered adulthood and began to make his own decisions about who he wanted to be. McConaughey's mother, Mary, played a different but equally important role in shaping his worldview. While James taught him resilience and discipline, Mary taught him the importance of creativity, intuition, and freedom. Mary was a poet, a lover of words, a woman who saw the world through a lens of beauty and possibility. She was free and spontaneous, and her influence on McConaughey was profound. From his mother, McConaughey learned that life wasn't just about being tough or getting ahead. It was about enjoying the journey, listening to your gut, and trusting that things would unfold as they should. She taught him that there was a rhythm to life, a frequency that you had to find for yourself. Together, McConaughey's parents formed a unique balance in his upbringing. His father's tough love and his mother's open heart created a foundation for him that allowed him to embrace both the challenges and the joys of life. It was a combination that taught him to be resilient but also to enjoy the ride, to question everything and yet trust the process. Matthew McConaughey's childhood was a mix of hard lessons and big freedom. His father, James, wasn't just a parent, he was a tough coach, a man who believed that the best way to learn was through experience, not just words. James believed that life would knock you down, but it was up to you to get back up. He wasn't afraid to push McConaughey to his limits. Whether it was in sports or life, James made sure that McConaughey understood that failure wasn't the end. It was just a part of the process. One of the most important things James taught McConaughey was that success doesn't come easily. You have to be resilient. You have to face challenges head-on and not let setbacks stop you. McConaughey learned this lesson firsthand when he faced rejection in the early years of his career. But instead of giving up, he remembered what his dad had always said: "It's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up." And that mindset is what kept him going, even when it felt like the world was against him. But McConaughey's mom, Mary, taught him something just as important: the value of freedom and trusting your intuition. While his dad pushed him to be tough, his mom encouraged him to be open, to listen to his gut, and to embrace the beauty in life. Mary was a poet at heart, someone who saw the world not just as a place to get ahead, but as a place to enjoy, to explore, and to understand. On a deeper level, McConaughey often talks about how his mom encouraged him to write in his journal. It wasn't just about writing down what happened during the day, it was about capturing how he felt, what he thought, and what he wanted out of life. She helped him understand that being successful wasn't just about working hard, it was also about being true to who you are. This balance between his father's discipline and his mother's creativity gave McConaughey a unique perspective on life. As McConaughey grew older, he began to realize that life isn't about following the rules that others set for you. His parents had taught him that it was okay to question those rules, to forge your own path, even if that meant going against the grain. McConaughey became known for not taking the typical Hollywood route. Early in his career, he was offered roles in romantic comedies and action films, but instead of following the easy path, McConaughey decided to turn them down. He wanted to make movies that mattered to him, movies that challenged him. He wanted to be more than just another actor in the same old roles. It wasn't an easy choice. Turning down big offers was risky, but McConaughey knew that if he wanted to be true to himself, he had to take that risk. He had to trust his gut, just like his mother taught him. And in the end, it paid off. By turning down the roles that didn't feel right, McConaughey found the greenlights, the moments when everything lined up, when he could finally do the work he was passionate about. Through his experiences, McConaughey learned that life is full of moments where you have to make a choice. Do you follow the crowd, or do you follow your own path? The outlaw logic his parents taught him wasn't about rejecting society or living recklessly. It was about living authentically, understanding that the road to success isn't always the easiest or the most conventional, but it's the one that will lead to true fulfillment. In every challenge, McConaughey saw a lesson. In every setback, he saw an opportunity to grow. And it was this mindset that led him to his most defining roles in Hollywood, including his breakthrough performance in Dallas Buyers Club, which ultimately earned him an Oscar. But none of that would have been possible if he hadn't embraced the tough lessons from his father and the freedom from his mother. When McConaughey looks back on his journey, he sees that the most important moments weren't the ones that followed the rules. They were the moments when he was willing to question the status quo, take risks, and trust his own instincts. That's the essence of the green light philosophy, recognizing that the roadblocks in life are not obstacles. They are just another opportunity to keep moving forward, to keep creating your own path. Chapter 2. Find your frequency. Life is full of moments when you feel like you're just going through the motions, when you're chasing goals that don't quite feel right, or when you're trying to meet expectations that don't align with your true self. This was the situation Matthew McConaughey found himself in early in his career. He had become famous for his roles in romantic comedies and action movies, roles that paid well and brought him plenty of attention. But somewhere along the way, McConaughey started to realize that this wasn't the path he had envisioned for himself. McConaughey had always been a person who followed his instincts, but when Hollywood started offering him similar roles, he began to question if he was being true to himself. He was playing the charming heartthrob, the guy everyone thought he should be, but deep down, he felt like something was missing. He wasn't acting in roles that challenged him. He wasn't doing the kind of work that spoke to his soul. He realized he was stuck in a cycle of comfort, and that comfort was preventing him from finding his true frequency. The turning point came when McConaughey decided to step away from the very thing that had brought him fame and success. He knew it was risky, but he also knew that in order to feel fulfilled, he needed to break away from the roles that didn't resonate with him. Instead of continuing to play it safe, he decided to take risks and pursue projects that excited him, roles that were outside of the Hollywood box. This decision wasn't easy. At the time, it felt like throwing away a successful career, but McConaughey believed it was the only way he could find the true rhythm of his life. This wasn't just about rejecting Hollywood, it was about finding authenticity in his work. McConaughey wanted to do something that mattered to him, something that felt real. He wasn't interested in being a puppet to the industry's expectations anymore. Instead, he began to choose roles that aligned with his passions, roles that pushed him to grow both as an actor and as a person. One of the things that helped him make this transition was the realization that success wasn't just about fame or money, it was about being true to himself. He understood that the most fulfilling work would come from aligning his personal values with his professional choices. McConaughey started to realize that the best performances came when he wasn't trying to be someone else or chasing after the kind of roles that he thought he was supposed to play. It was only when he embraced his true self and started following his instincts that he found the work that truly resonated with him. This moment of clarity led McConaughey to turn down roles that many actors would have jumped at. He passed on big movies that would have kept him in his comfort zone, and instead, he focused on finding roles that would challenge him and allow him to stretch his boundaries. It was a risky move, but McConaughey believed that in order to find his true frequency, the place where he felt completely aligned with his purpose, he had to take the leap by rejecting the easy path and trusting himself. McConaughey discovered the kind of work that brought him joy and fulfillment. He found the roles that allowed him to dig deep and transform as an actor. One of those roles was in Dallas Buyers Club, where he played the character of Ron Woodruff, a real-life figure who fought for his life after being diagnosed with HIV. It wasn't the typical role Hollywood would have cast him in, but it was the role that felt right. McConaughey threw himself into the part, physically and emotionally transforming for the role. His performance earned him an Academy Award and, more importantly, it marked the moment when he truly found his frequency. McConaughey's journey wasn't just about stepping away from certain roles, it was about stepping into his own power, embracing his true voice, and trusting that his authentic self would lead him to the right places. It wasn't about playing the game the way others wanted him to. It was about creating his own path, one that felt true to him. And by doing that, he found success that was more fulfilling and meaningful than any role he could have played by. Following the crowd. McConaughey single quotes this decision to embrace authenticity didn't just change his career, it transformed his life. When he chose to pursue roles that aligned with his true self, he wasn't just choosing a different type of work, he was choosing to live in alignment with his values. He realized that in order to feel truly fulfilled, he had to trust the process and follow his own instincts. One of the most significant lessons McConaughey learned was the importance of self-awareness. In his younger years, he was caught up in what others expected of him, playing roles that fit into a certain mold, saying the right things, and doing what was necessary to maintain his popularity. But as he grew older, McConaughey began to understand that success didn't come from external validation. True success, he realized, came from within. It came from aligning his actions with his inner values and pursuing work that felt meaningful to him. This self-awareness wasn't always easy to develop, especially in an industry as demanding as Hollywood. There were countless pressures to conform, to fit into the mold that others had created for him. But McConaughey had learned that the more he tried to please others, the further he got from his true self. It was only when he made the conscious decision to stop playing the game by others' rules and start playing by his own that things started to shift. The breakthrough came when he made the bold decision to turn down roles that he knew wouldn't serve him. Hollywood saw McConaughey as the charming, good-looking guy, the romantic lead, but he knew there was more to him than that. He wasn't content with simply fitting the mold. He wanted to do more than just be famous for the sake of being famous. He wanted to be known for doing work that mattered, for roles that challenged him, that allowed him to grow as an actor and as a person. So McConaughey took a risk. He turned down the easy offers and chose to wait for the roles that felt right. And then came Dallas Buyers Club. It was a role that was completely different from anything McConaughey had done before. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't the typical Hollywood fare. It wasn't about a handsome guy winning the girl or being the hero in a big action film. It was raw, emotional, and required McConaughey to completely transform himself, both physically and emotionally. McConaughey dove into the role, head first, losing weight, studying the character, and immersing himself in the story. He knew this was the opportunity he had been waiting for, the moment when everything lined up. His performance was powerful, and it earned him an Academy Award. But more than that, it was the validation McConaughey needed to prove to himself that he had found his frequency. The success that came from Dallas Buyers Club wasn't just a result of his talent. It was a product of his willingness to be authentic, to step outside of the box and pursue something that resonated with his true self. McConaughey learned that when you align your work with your values, everything else follows. The accolades, the recognition, the opportunities, they all come naturally when you're doing the work that is most meaningful to you. But McConaughey's journey didn't stop there. He continued to seek out roles that aligned with his frequency, choosing to play characters that challenged him and allowed him to stretch his boundaries as an actor. He no longer cared about pleasing the industry or fitting into a specific mold. Instead, he focused on doing work that felt authentic to who he was. The lesson McConaughey learned during this period is one that applies to all of us. In order to succeed, we have to be true to ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the world, to listen to the expectations of others and try to meet them. But true fulfillment doesn't come from meeting the expectations of others. It comes from meeting your own. Finding your frequency means understanding who you are, what you value, and what makes you feel alive. It's about trusting your instincts and pursuing work that resonates with your true self. McConaughey's journey is proof that when you follow your own path, when you align your actions with your core values, you can create a life that is both successful and fulfilling. This doesn't mean it's always easy. There will always be challenges, moments of doubt, and times when the road ahead seems unclear. But McConaughey's story shows that when you trust yourself and embrace authenticity, you'll always find your way. The green lights will show up sometimes when you least expect them, and when they do, you'll know you're on the right path. For McConaughey, finding his frequency was the key to unlocking a career that was both meaningful and successful. It wasn't about chasing the next big thing. It was about doing work that was true to who he was, and in doing so, he found a rhythm that allowed him to not only excel in his career but also find personal fulfillment and peace. Chapter 3. Dirt roads and autobahns. Life isn't always about following a straight, smooth road. Sometimes, the journey requires us to take the bumpy, dirt roads, paths that challenge us, test our patience, and force us to grow. But as McConaughey learned, those dirt roads often lead to the most profound experiences and rewards. And, just as importantly, the smooth, easy autobahns, the moments when life seems to effortlessly fall into place, have their own value too. For McConaughey, the dirt roads came early in his career. After he decided to step away from the romantic comedies and action roles, the road ahead wasn't immediately paved with success. There were moments of uncertainty, times when he doubted his decision to turn down the Hollywood offers. He had chosen the harder path, the path less traveled, and it wasn't always easy to see the payoff. The dirt roads, for McConaughey, represented the struggle, the challenge, and the moments when things felt slow and difficult. But McConaughey also realized that these challenges weren't obstacles to avoid. They were opportunities to learn, to grow, and to build something meaningful. He compares these dirt roads to the times in his life when he faced rejection, failure, or hardship. Instead of letting these moments define him, McConaughey used them as fuel for growth. These were the moments that made him stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware. On the other hand, there are the autobahns, those moments when everything seems to align perfectly, when life moves forward with ease and speed. For McConaughey, one of those autobahn moments came with his role in Dallas Buyers Club. It was a project that felt right from the start, a role that allowed him to step into a character that was deeply challenging and rewarding. After years of navigating the dirt roads, McConaughey had found an opportunity that seemed to flow naturally, a moment when everything clicked into place. But McConaughey also knows that the autobahns are fleeting. They don't last forever. The key, he believes, is to recognize when you're on the autobahn and to make the most of it, but not to rely on it. It's easy to get complacent when things are going well. It's tempting to think that the smooth path will always be there, but life has a way of throwing curves when we least expect it. McConaughey learned that success is not just about finding it's about being able to navigate both the dirt roads and the autobahns with grace and purpose. The dirt roads teach us the lessons we need for the future, and the autobahns give us the momentum to keep going. Both are essential parts of the journey. One gives us the patience and perseverance we need, and the other provides us with the speed and clarity to move forward quickly when the time is right. One of McConaughey's greatest lessons came during a time when he was stuck in what seemed like an endless dirt road. He had made the decision to turn down Hollywood's easy offers and follow his own path. But for a while, that path didn't seem to be leading anywhere. Roles weren't coming his way, and he began to question whether he had made the right choice. The struggle was real, and McConaughey started to wonder if he would ever find success again. At times, the road ahead felt so uncertain that it seemed like a dead. He had chosen the harder, less glamorous route, to step away from the comfort of the typical Hollywood roles and find something more meaningful. Yet the challenges continued to pile up. He was turning down offers, stepping out of his comfort zone and waiting for the right opportunity to come along. It was in this period of uncertainty that McConaughey learned one of his most important lessons. Sometimes the dirt roads are exactly where you need to be. McConaughey realized that the roadblocks were not obstacles to success, they were part of the process. Each no and each rejection wasn't a failure. Instead, they were teaching him to trust his instincts, to believe in himself, and to have faith in the direction he had chosen. His patience was tested, but McConaughey knew that by sticking to his path, he would eventually find his moment. He couldn't rush the journey, and sometimes the dirt roads were necessary in order to prepare him for the autobahn that would eventually open up. And then it happened. The opportunity he had been waiting for came in the form of Dallas Buyers Club, when McConaughey took on the role of Ron Woodruff, a real-life figure who battled HIV and fought for his survival. It was unlike anything he had ever done before. It was raw, it was uncomfortable, and it required McConaughey to push himself further than he ever had. This wasn't the kind of role that Hollywood would have typically cast him in, but McConaughey felt an undeniable pull to it. The role forced McConaughey to transform himself physically, emotionally, and mentally. He lost a significant amount of weight, studied the character deeply, and immersed himself in the story. For the first time in his career, McConaughey felt like he was doing something that truly mattered. This role wasn't just about fame or recognition. It was about telling a story that was important, that was meaningful, and that spoke to the deeper issues of survival, dignity, and personal transformation. The success that came with Dallas Buyers Club was the breakthrough McConaughey had been waiting for. His performance earned him an Academy Award, but the impact went beyond that. McConaughey realized that all the dirt roads he had traveled, all the struggles, all the moments of doubt had prepared him for this moment. The slow, difficult journey had led him to the right opportunity at the right time. It was a reminder that the dirt roads weren't in vain. They had shaped him, refined him, and made him ready for the autobahn when it arrived. But McConaughey's experience also taught him that life isn't about chasing the autobahns. The smooth, fast paths are exciting, but they don't last forever. Success is fleeting, and if you're not careful, it's easy to become complacent. The key, McConaughey believes, is to recognize when you're on the autobahn, to enjoy the ride, but not to take it for granted. You need to stay focused, stay grounded, and be ready when the dirt road comes back into view. McConaughey sees life as a combination of both the dirt roads and the Autobahn. They each offer something valuable. The dirt roads teach us patience, resilience, and perseverance. They help us learn the lessons we need to grow. The Autobahns give us the momentum to move quickly, to make decisions with confidence, and to capitalize on the opportunities that come our way. Both are essential to the journey. As McConaughey looks back on his career, he sees the value in both paths. The times when life felt slow and difficult were the moments that helped him understand what really mattered. The fast, easy moments were the ones that gave him the speed to achieve his dreams. The two paths work together, and neither should be taken for granted. When we're on the dirt roads, we have to trust the process and keep moving forward. When we're on the Autobahns, we have to make the most of the momentum and keep pushing toward our goals. Ultimately, McConaughey's journey has shown him that the most important thing is not the road we travel, but the way we travel it. Whether we're on a dirt road or an Autobahn, the key is to stay true to ourselves, to embrace the lessons along the way, and to keep moving forward with purpose and passion. Chapter 4. The Art of Running Downhill in Life. There are moments when things just click, when you feel in sync with the world around you, and everything seems to flow effortlessly. McConaughey calls this the art of running downhill. It's that sweet spot when momentum is on your side, when you're moving with ease, and things are aligning perfectly. In those moments, life feels almost effortless, like you're riding the wave of success and destiny. But getting to those moments isn't as easy as it sounds. The downhill doesn't happen without putting in the work. McConaughey's path to finding his flow was anything but smooth. He spent years on the dirt roads, struggling, learning, and growing. But once he made the decision to follow his true frequency, to embrace the roles and opportunities that felt right, he started experiencing what it felt like to run downhill. Running downhill, for McConaughey, is not about taking shortcuts or avoiding challenges. It's about recognizing when you're in a flow state, when the momentum is in your favor, and all you have to do is lean into it. It's about trusting that the universe is on your side, and that you're in the right place at the right time. But, as he learned, these moments are fleeting. They don't last forever, and they require you to stay present, to stay focused, and to keep moving forward with purpose. McConaughey reflects on the success of Dallas Buyers Club, which was one of those downhill moments for him. It wasn't just the accolades that followed the film, it was the feeling of being in sync with the role, the character, and the moment. He had spent years searching for a project that would truly challenge him, and when it finally came, it was like everything clicked into place. He was able to run downhill because he was in the right place, doing the right work, with the right mindset. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success comes from always pushing, always working hard. And while McConaughey certainly worked hard to get to where he is, he also learned that there are times when you need to stop pushing so hard and allow things to happen naturally. The key to the art of running downhill is knowing when to lean into the flow and when to let go of control. For McConaughey, this shift in mindset didn't happen overnight. He had to learn how to stop fighting against the natural rhythms of life. Early on, he spent a lot of energy trying to force things to happen, to fit into the roles that Hollywood wanted him to play, to chase success, to keep up with the fast-paced demands of the industry. But as he matured, he realized that success wasn't about forcing things, it was about aligning with the natural flow of life, trusting the process, and letting go of the need to control everything. This lesson is something that McConaughey often reflects on when he looks back at his career. He talks about how the biggest breakthroughs came when he stopped trying to force them and instead allowed things to unfold. The roles that truly changed his career, like Dallas Buyers Club, weren't the ones he chased relentlessly. They were the ones that came to him when he was in the right state of mind, when he was running downhill, when everything aligned. McConaughey doesn't believe in waiting for things to fall into his lap, though. Running downhill isn't about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about taking action when the time is right and trusting that the momentum will carry you forward. It's about recognizing when things are flowing and when they're not, and knowing how to keep going when the road is smooth. In The Art of Running Downhill, McConaughey also emphasizes the importance of embracing the present moment. He talks about how we often get caught up in the future or the past, but the key to success is staying present and focused on the now. When you're running downhill, you can't be thinking about what's ahead or what's behind. You have to stay in the moment, trusting that the road will take you where you need to go. McConaughey's story is a reminder that success isn't always about pushing harder. It's about learning to trust the flow, to trust the process, and to know when to lean into the downhill. It's about being open to the opportunities that come your way and recognizing when things are aligning. The art of running downhill is about being in tune with the rhythms of life and allowing things to happen naturally, without forcing them. McConaughey's concept of the art of running downhill isn't just about the smooth moments of success. It's also about the wisdom to know when to stop forcing things and allow life to take its course. It's about surrendering to the flow and trusting that you're on the right path, even when you can't always see where it's headed. One of the most profound lessons McConaughey learned during his career is that sometimes you have to stop trying so hard to control everything. In the early days of his fame, McConaughey was constantly in motion, chasing the next role, the next project, and the next piece of success. But it wasn't until he slowed down and stopped fighting against the natural course of his life that he began to experience true fulfillment. The art of running downhill is about letting go of the need to push for things to happen. It's about recognizing when the momentum is on your side and making the most of it. McConaughey describes this moment as the art of flow, the point at which everything feels aligned, and you can simply let go and enjoy the ride. There's an interesting paradox here. McConaughey still believes in hard work and hustle. He never suggests that you should sit back and wait for success to fall into your lap. But he also understands that there are times when the most powerful thing you can do is relax into the flow of life. Trust the process and allow yourself to be carried forward by the momentum you've built. He believes that when you do the hard work, when you follow your instincts, and when you align yourself with your true purpose, the downhill moments will come naturally. When McConaughey reflects on his most successful roles, he recognizes that they came at the moments when he wasn't trying to force them. The most powerful opportunities came when he was open to the flow of life, when he stopped trying to control everything and allowed things to happen. This became clear during his performance in Dallas Buyers Club. It wasn't just about doing the work, it was about trusting that he was in the right place at the right time. Dallas Buyers Club wasn't just a role, it was a career-defining moment. But McConaughey didn't get there by chasing after the role or forcing it into his life. He got there by following his instincts, by aligning his values with his work, and by stepping away from the roles that didn't resonate with him. It was during this period of alignment, when he had let go of the need to fit into a mold and instead embraced his true frequency, that the downhill momentum started to build. McConaughey's journey through the industry has been one of trial and error, of finding his rhythm and learning how to lean into the flow of life. He describes this process as learning to let the wind take you, rather than constantly paddling against it. He believes that the universe has a way of presenting you with opportunities when you're ready for them. The trick is knowing when to stop forcing, when to stop paddling, and when to let the wind take you to the next destination. On this sense, the art of running downhill is about finding the balance between effort and ease. It's not about being passive or lazy. It's about recognizing the moments when you've put in the work and trusting that the rest will follow. McConaughey talks about how the most successful moments in his life came when he allowed things to unfold naturally. He stopped chasing after the next big thing and instead focused on doing the work that mattered to him. When he aligned his passion and purpose with his career, that's when the downhill moments appeared. This idea of letting go and allowing life to unfold naturally is not just about career success. McConaughey applies it to his personal life as well. He talks about how, in relationships, the key to success isn't forcing things to happen or trying to control the outcome. It's about allowing the connection to grow organically, trusting that the relationship will evolve naturally as long as both people are aligned in their values and intentions. The same principle applies to personal growth. McConaughey believes that when you stop forcing change and instead let it happen organically, that's when true transformation occurs. The art of running downhill is about knowing when to take action and when to sit back and let life take the reins. McConaughey doesn't advocate for passivity. Rather, he advocates for mindful action. He believes that when we're aligned with our true purpose, we naturally find ourselves in the flow, and the downhill moments will arrive. But he also acknowledges that these moments are rare. They don't come every day, and they don't last forever. The key is to recognize them when they do come, to embrace them fully, and to ride the wave with grace and purpose. The downhill moments are gifts, but they're also fleeting. McConaughey urges us not to take them for granted. When the momentum is on your side, make the most of it, but also be prepared for the inevitable shift back to the uphill climb. Life is full of both downhills and uphills, and McConaughey believes that the key to success is learning how to navigate both with ease. Chapter 5. Turn the page. There comes a point in every journey when you realize it's time to turn the page, to leave behind the chapters that no longer serve you and step into the next phase of your life. For McConaughey, this realization didn't come easily. It wasn't just about making a career choice or taking on a new role. It was about shifting his entire mindset, about embracing change and transformation on a deeper level. Turning the page, for McConaughey, is about embracing the idea of reinvention. It's about acknowledging that the person you were yesterday might not be the person you need to be today. The world changes, people change, and you change, and that's not something to fear. It's something to embrace. McConaughey recalls a time in his life when he felt stuck, when he was unsure of the direction he was heading. He had reached a point where he had done everything expected of him. He was the charming leading man in romantic comedies, the guy who was supposed to fit the mold of Hollywood stardom. But despite all the success, McConaughey felt something was missing. He knew he wasn't living his truth, and he knew it was time to make a change. For McConaughey, turning the page meant stepping away from the roles that had brought him fame and recognition. It was a radical decision, one that felt like giving up everything he had worked for. But deep down, McConaughey knew that if he continued down the same path, he would never find true fulfillment. He had to reinvent himself, both personally and professionally. Turning the page wasn't just about rejecting the past. It was about accepting the fact that change is inevitable and that reinvention is a necessary part of growth. McConaughey learned that it's okay to leave behind the things that no longer align with your values or aspirations. He realized that in order to move forward, he had to let go of the familiar and step into the unknown. The process of turning the page wasn't easy for McConaughey. It meant taking risks, saying no to the roles that would have kept him in the spotlight, and opening himself up to new possibilities. It was a leap of faith, but it was one that McConaughey knew he had to take. He had reached a point where he had to trust himself and trust that the next chapter would be even more rewarding than the one he was closing. In many ways, turning the page is a reflection of McConaughey's core philosophy about life, that it's not about clinging to the past or trying to control the future, but about being present and open to what comes next. It's about trusting that the best is yet to come, even if you don't have all the answers right now. McConaughey's decision to reinvent himself was a turning point in his career. After years of being typecast in romantic comedies, he took on roles that challenged him as an actor and allowed him to explore new dimensions of his craft. One of his most notable reinventions came with his role in Dallas Buyers Club. This was the role that marked his true breakthrough, the one that showed the world he was capable of more than just playing the charming guy next door. It was a role that forced him to dig deep, to transform physically and emotionally, and to embrace a completely different kind of character. Turning the page also meant letting go of the pressure to meet external expectations. McConaughey realized that his worth wasn't tied to the roles he played or the image that Hollywood had created for him. He had to let go of the need to be liked, to be seen as the good guy, and embrace the idea that sometimes reinvention means stepping outside of the box, even if it's uncomfortable. For McConaughey, the act of turning the page was a profound one, both personally and professionally. It wasn't just about changing careers or taking on new roles. It was about embracing a new way of thinking, a new way of living. It was about accepting that growth often comes from discomfort, and that in order to evolve, you have to be willing to let go of what no longer serves you. Turning the page isn't just about change in the external world. It's about a shift in perspective. McConaughey realized that reinvention wasn't just something that happened in his career. It also had to happen within himself. The idea of turning the page meant that he had to stop seeing himself in the same old way. He had to let go of the person he had been in order to become the person he was meant to be. The first step in this transformation was realizing that it was okay to let go of the past. McConaughey had built a successful career on the back of his charming leading man roles, but those roles weren't fulfilling him anymore. He had been chasing success in the form of external validation, the box office hits, the adoration from fans, the accolades from the industry. but he began to understand that none of these external rewards could replace the internal satisfaction that came from doing work that felt true to his purpose. McConaughey often talks about how, for years, he chased a version of success that wasn't really his own. He played the roles that Hollywood wanted him to play, said the things people expected him to say, and lived up to an image that was carefully crafted by others. But in doing so, he lost sight of who he really was. He was so caught up in meeting external expectations that he neglected the internal work of figuring out who he was and what he truly wanted from life. This is where turning the page became a deeply personal act. It wasn't just about taking on new roles. It was about redefining success for himself. McConaughey began to see that true success wasn't about pleasing others or fitting into the mold that had been handed to him. It was about creating his own path, one that was authentic to him and aligned with his values. When McConaughey stepped away from the roles that had made him famous, it wasn't just a career decision. It was a decision to be true to himself. It was a recognition that, in order to be truly successful, he had to stop living for others and start living for himself. This wasn't an easy transition. It meant stepping into the unknown, leaving behind the comfort of Hollywood's familiar expectations, and taking a risk on something completely new. This shift in mindset wasn't just about McConaughey's career. It was about his personal growth. He started to realize that reinvention isn't just about changing your external circumstances. It's about changing how you see yourself and what you're willing to tolerate in your life. For McConaughey, turning the page meant letting go of the image he had built for himself and embracing the idea that growth often requires stepping outside of your comfort zone. The transformation McConaughey went through wasn't just about career moves. It was about learning to trust himself, to stop seeking approval from others, and to follow his own instincts. He began to understand that success is a personal journey, and it's defined not by the awards or the recognition you get, but by the way you feel about your work and your life. It's about living with purpose, doing work that matters, and finding joy in the process, not just the outcome. One of the most powerful moments for McConaughey in his journey of reinvention came with the success of Dallas Buyers Club. This wasn't just a career milestone for him. It was the validation that he had made the right choice by turning the page. It was a role that didn't just change his career. It changed how he saw himself as an actor and as a person. It was a reminder that when you trust yourself and make decisions based on your own values, the rest of the world will catch up. But McConaughey also acknowledges that turning the page isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, of continually checking in with yourself to make sure you're on the right path. Reinvention isn't a destination, it's a journey. McConaughey believes that, as we grow and change, we have to keep turning the page over and over again, so that we're always evolving and staying true to who we are. The process of turning the page is also about letting go of the past, not just in terms of our careers, but in terms of our identity. McConaughey realized that he had been holding on to an image of himself that no longer fit. He had been holding on to the version of himself that others expected him to be. But in order to truly turn the page, he had to let go of that version and embrace the next chapter of his life. This process of letting go is hard, but McConaughey believes it's necessary for growth. The lesson here is that in order to move forward, we have to be willing to let go of what no longer serves us, whether it's a career path, a relationship, or an old version of ourselves. Turning the page requires us to release the things that are holding us back and make space for what's to come. It's about being brave enough to embrace the unknown, to step into a new chapter with courage and openness. For McConaughey, turning the page wasn't just a career move, it was a personal transformation. He let go of the expectations of others and embraced the unknown. And in doing so, he found a deeper sense of purpose, fulfillment, and authenticity. Chapter 6. The arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow in life. It's easy to feel like you're constantly searching for the next goal, the next target, the next thing to achieve. But McConaughey believes that life doesn't work like that. Instead of chasing after what you think you want, the key to success lies in understanding that the target draws the arrow, meaning the right opportunities will come to you when you're aligned with your true purpose and values. The metaphor of the arrow and target is a powerful one. It suggests that instead of aggressively aiming at a goal, we should focus on becoming the person who naturally draws the right opportunities. To us, the target doesn't need to be chased. It will appear when we're ready for it. McConaughey's life and career are a perfect example of this concept in action. As McConaughey reflects on his journey, he realizes that much of his success came not from relentless pursuit, but from allowing life to unfold naturally. There were times in his career when he was focused on chasing the next role or the next big movie deal, but the most fulfilling moments came when he stopped chasing after external goals and focused on doing the work that felt right to him. The right roles came when he aligned his actions with his core values and purpose. The idea that the target draws the arrow suggests a shift in mindset from scarcity to abundance. Instead of constantly searching for what's next, it's about recognizing that everything you need is already within you, and that the right opportunities will come at the right time. McConaughey talks about how, when he made the conscious decision to stop chasing after roles that didn't excite him, the right roles began to come to him naturally. This shift wasn't easy. It meant turning down big Hollywood offers and stepping away from the comfort of fame and fortune. But McConaughey understood that in order to truly succeed, he had to let go of the need to control everything. He had to trust that the right opportunities would come when he was in alignment with his true purpose. It was a leap of faith, but one that paid off in the long run. McConaughey's breakthrough role in Dallas Buyers Club was the moment when the target finally drew the arrow. After years of rejecting roles that didn't feel right, McConaughey found himself in the perfect position to take on a role that challenged him in ways he had never been challenged before. He didn't chase the role. It came to him when he was ready for it. And in many ways, that role, which earned him an Academy Award, represented the moment when he stopped chasing external success and allowed the right opportunities to find him. This concept of the arrow and the target is about letting go of the obsessive need to control everything in your life. It's about trusting the process and understanding that sometimes the best things happen when you stop trying to force them. McConaughey explains that when you're aligned with your purpose, when you're focused on the work that truly matters to you, the right opportunities will come at the right time. It's about being open to what life has to offer, instead of forcing a specific outcome. In this section, McConaughey encourages us to stop focusing so much on the end goal and start focusing on becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts the right opportunities. The target isn't something to chase. It's something that will appear when you're ready, and when it does, you'll be in the perfect position to seize it. McConaughey also believes that the target is not always what we expect it to be. We often have an idea in our minds of what success should look like, a specific job, a certain level of fame, or a particular accomplishment. But the truth is, the target that we're aiming for might not always be the one we expect. Sometimes, life leads us down unexpected paths, and the target we eventually hit might be very different from what we imagined. But when we stop trying to force things and start trusting the process, we often find that the target that comes to us is even better than what we had planned. For McConaughey, the idea of the arrow and target also relates to the concept of alignment. When you're aligned with your true purpose and values, you'll naturally attract the right opportunities and the right people into your life. You don't need to chase success. You just need to focus on being true to yourself, doing the work that resonates with you, and trusting that the rest will follow. McConaughey often reflects on the moments when his career, his life, and his personal growth felt like they were finally aligned. These moments were not the result of relentless striving or obsessively chasing success, but rather the result of stepping back, finding his true purpose, and allowing life to unfold naturally. McConaughey believes that when we are aligned with our true selves, everything from career opportunities to relationships begins to fall into place. For McConaughey, his career took off when he stopped trying to fit into a mold and started embracing the roles and opportunities that felt authentic to him. The turning point came when he chose to step away from the safe and easy roles that Hollywood expected from him and began seeking out work that felt more aligned with his values and passions. This shift in mindset wasn't easy, but it was necessary for him to feel fulfilled both professionally and personally. The key lesson McConaughey teaches through this concept of the arrow and the target is that we often get caught up in the idea that success is something to be chased. We put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve certain goals or reach specific milestones, but in doing so, we lose sight of the bigger picture. The truth is, success isn't something that can be forced. It's something that comes to us when we are ready for it, when we've done the inner work, and when we're aligned with our true purpose. McConaughey's approach to success is a departure from the conventional hustle culture that often values constant striving over alignment. he talks about how many people are driven by the need to make it, to reach a specific destination, to hit a particular target. But McConaughey encourages us to rethink this approach. Instead of focusing solely on the end goal, he believes we should focus on becoming the person who naturally attracts the right opportunities. In this way, success isn't about working harder or chasing after every opportunity that comes our way. It's about being ready for the right opportunity when it arrives. But a powerful example of this came during McConaughey's career when he found himself at a crossroads. After a string of rom-com roles, he realized he had become typecast in a certain image. He was being offered more of the same roles, and although they were successful, they weren't fulfilling him. McConaughey made the bold decision to stop accepting those roles and focus on finding projects that felt meaningful to him. But this decision wasn't easy. It meant stepping away from the fame and the money, and it required a deep level of trust in himself and the universe. Instead of forcing his way into more leading roles, McConaughey chose to follow his instincts. The result was Dallas Buyers Club. This was the role that came to him when he stopped chasing success and allowed himself to align with his true purpose. It was a role that required him to take risks, to challenge himself, and to step into a character that was far from the charming leading man he had been known for. Yet, it was the role that ultimately brought him the recognition and personal satisfaction he had been seeking all along. The message here is that success doesn't always come from pushing harder or trying to control the outcome. It comes from being in the right state of mind, from trusting the process, and from understanding that when you're ready, the right opportunities will come to you. The key is to stop chasing the target and start aligning with your true self. When you do this, you'll find that the right opportunities will find you. McConaughey's story is an example of how life works in mysterious ways when we trust the process. The roles he took after Dallas Buyers Club were different from the ones that had brought him fame, but they were the roles that truly aligned with his passion. By allowing the target to draw the arrow, McConaughey stopped trying to force success and instead let it come to him naturally. And in doing so, he not only found greater fulfillment, but also experienced more success than he ever had before. This idea that the target draws the arrow isn't just about career success. It applies to every area of life, whether it's relationships, personal growth, or creative projects. McConaughey believes that when you stop chasing after external validation and start aligning with your core values, the right people and opportunities will come into your life. It's about being authentic, being true to yourself, and trusting that everything you need will come when the time is right. For McConaughey, this process of allowing the target to draw the arrow is not a passive one. It's about doing the inner work, about being in tune with your values, and about making conscious choices that align with your purpose. It's not about sitting back and waiting for life to hand you success. It's about doing the work, staying focused, and trusting that when you're aligned with your true purpose, the right opportunities will find you. Chapter 7. Be brave. Take the hill. Life often presents us with moments when we have to take a leap, to face our fears, and to be brave. McConaughey's philosophy on bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward despite fear, about making the decision to charge up the hill even when you're not sure what lies at the top. It's about taking action in the face of uncertainty, knowing that courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means acting despite it. The idea of taking the hill is a metaphor for those times in life when you face challenges head-on. It's about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, taking risks, and having the courage to face the unknown. For McConaughey, these moments of bravery are where the greatest growth happens. They are the moments that shape who we are and determine the course of our lives. One of the most significant moments in McConaughey's career came when he made the decision to turn down predictable roles and embrace the unknown. This was a brave decision, one that required him to take a risk and step into uncharted territory. Hollywood had already decided what kind of actor he should be, the charming heartthrob, the romantic lead. But McConaughey wasn't interested in being put into a box. He wanted to break free from the mold and take on roles that challenged him, roles that scared him. It was a decision that required him to be brave. He knew that by turning down those easy, predictable roles, he was risking his career. He was walking away from fame, money, and success to pursue something more meaningful. But McConaughey believed that true growth comes from taking risks, from stepping into the unknown and embracing the challenges that come with it. In McConaughey's case, this bravery paid off. When he took on the role of Ron Woodroof in Dallas Buyers Club, he was stepping into the unknown. It wasn't the kind of role that Hollywood typically cast him in, and it was a far cry from the romantic comedies he had become known for. But McConaughey felt it was the right opportunity for him, the one that aligned with his true purpose. The process of transforming himself for the role was difficult and uncomfortable, but it was also one of the most rewarding experiences of his career. The decision to embrace this challenge, to take the hill, changed the course of McConaughey's career. It earned him an Academy Award, but more importantly, it showed him that true success isn't about playing it safe. It's about taking those brave steps, even when the road ahead is uncertain. McConaughey often talks about how the most rewarding experiences in his life came from moments when he decided to take the leap, to move forward despite the fear, and to embrace the challenge. Taking the hill also means being willing to fail. McConaughey recognizes that failure is often part of the process, but it's not something to be feared. In fact, failure can be one of our greatest teachers. It forces us to face our limitations, to learn from our mistakes, and to build the resilience we need to keep going. McConaughey's own story is a testament to this. He faced many challenges and rejections early in his career, but instead of letting them defeat him, he used those experiences to fuel his growth. The bravery McConaughey talks about isn't about blindly charging forward without fear. It's about being afraid, but doing it anyway. It's about having the courage to take risks, to embrace failure, and to trust that no matter what happens, you'll be stronger on the other side. Bravery isn't about avoiding fear. It's about acknowledging it and choosing to move forward. Despite it, McConaughey's perspective on bravery is grounded in the belief that life is full of hills, some steep, some rocky, and some seemingly insurmountable. But the only way to reach the summit is to climb, to keep moving forward even when it feels impossible. And when you get to the top, the view is worth the effort. It's worth the sweat, the struggle, and the fear that you faced along the way. For McConaughey, the journey up the hill is what matters most. It's not just about achieving the goal. It's about who you become in the process. The lessons you learn, the strength you build, and the person you grow into. That's the real reward. Taking the hill is about facing challenges head-on, and knowing that, no matter what happens, you're building something stronger than yourself in the process. As McConaughey continues to reflect on his journey, he emphasizes that taking the hill is not just about the big, career-defining moments. It's also about the small, everyday decisions that require bravery. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, every time you face something that scares you, you are taking the hill. It doesn't always have to be a dramatic leap. Sometimes, it's about the quieter, more personal moments of courage. For McConaughey, bravery is about embracing the discomfort of growth. When he decided to stop taking the roles that Hollywood expected of him and instead pursue work that felt true to his core, it wasn't a decision that was met with immediate success. In fact, it came with doubt, uncertainty, and fear. But McConaughey knew that in order to truly grow and become the person he wanted to be, he had to be brave enough to face those fears. The process of reinventing himself, of taking the hill, required him to confront his own insecurities. He wasn't sure if he would ever find the kind of roles that aligned with his purpose, and there were moments when he doubted his decision. But he continued to push forward, because he understood that growth doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when you face challenges head-on, when you step into the unknown and trust that the journey will teach you what you need to know. One of the most powerful things McConaughey learned during this period of reinvention was the importance of trusting the process. He realized that taking the hill doesn't always guarantee immediate results. Sometimes, you have to take a step back and have faith that the work you're putting in will pay off eventually. It's about maintaining belief in yourself and in the journey, even when the path isn't clear. The moments of doubt McConaughey experienced weren't just challenges he had to overcome. They were opportunities for growth. He talks about how doubt can be a powerful tool if you allow it to fuel your motivation rather than paralyze you with fear. McConaughey believes that we all experience moments of self-doubt, but it's how we respond to those moments that defines us. Instead of letting doubt hold him back, McConaughey used it to propel himself forward, to push through the fear and continue taking the hill. No matter how steep the climb, taking the hill is also about embracing vulnerability. McConaughey's decision to step into roles that pushed him out of his comfort zone required him to be vulnerable in ways he had never been before. Whether it was physically transforming for a role, emotionally immersing himself in a character, or facing the possibility of failure, McConaughey had to let go of the need to control every aspect of his success. He had to trust that by being vulnerable and authentic, he would find the right path. The role of Ron Woodroof in Dallas Buyers Club was a perfect example of this. The character was raw, unfiltered, and challenged McConaughey to dig deep into his own emotions and experiences. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional and mental. McConaughey had to step outside of his comfort zone and fully embrace the vulnerability that came with playing such a complex character. It wasn't an easy role to take on, but it was the role that marked his breakthrough, the moment when he truly embraced the hill. Taking the hill also means being willing to fail. McConaughey understands that failure is not something to be feared. It's an inevitable part of the process. In fact, failure is often the best teacher. It teaches us resilience, humility, and the strength to try again. McConaughey often talks about how his early career was filled with failures and rejections, but instead of allowing those failures to define him, he used them to grow stronger. He learned from his mistakes, adjusted his approach, and kept moving forward. McConaughey's story is a reminder that success isn't just about the final outcome. It's about the journey and the lessons we learn along the way. The hills we climb are the moments that shape us. They are the times when we find out who we really are, what we're capable of, and what we value. And those hills, the challenges, the struggles, and the fears, are the very things that make success meaningful. When McConaughey talks about taking the hill, he's not just talking about career moments, he's talking about life in general. Every day presents us with opportunities to face challenges, to step out of our comfort zones, and to take the hill. Whether it's in our careers, our relationships, or our personal growth, we all face moments when we need to be brave, when we need to step up and take action even when we're afraid. McConaughey's story is a testament to the power of bravery, perseverance, and resilience. He didn't let fear stop him. He didn't let failure define him. Instead, he used every obstacle as an opportunity to learn and grow. The hills he climbed weren't always easy, but they were the very things that led him to where he is today. Taking the hill is not about avoiding fear. It's about facing it head-on. It's about making the decision to keep going, even when the path is steep. It's about trusting that the climb is worth it, knowing that the lessons you learn along the way will make you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next challenge. Chapter 8. Live Your Legacy Now. As McConaughey reflects on his journey, he often brings up the idea of legacy, not just the legacy we leave behind when we're gone, but the legacy we create each day, with the choices we make, the actions we take, and the lives we touch. He believes that legacy isn't something that happens in the future. It's something we build right now, through the way we live and the impact we have on others. For McConaughey, living your legacy now means taking responsibility for the life you're creating. It's about making conscious decisions that align with your values and purpose, and understanding that every choice you make has the potential to shape the future. The idea that legacy is something to be created in the present moment is a powerful one, because it reminds us that the life we want to leave behind starts today. McConaughey believes that many of us get caught up in the idea of future success, the things we want to achieve, the dreams we want to accomplish, but what often gets overlooked is the fact that the way we live today is what shapes the future. We may not always see the results of our actions immediately, but every day we are building the life we want to live, and we're leaving behind a trail of influence that will impact others. Living your legacy now is about understanding that your actions matter, even when no one is watching. It's about making decisions based on what's important to you, rather than chasing external validation or approval. McConaughey reflects on how many people live their lives waiting for the right moment, waiting for the perfect opportunity, the right time, or the big break. But the truth is, the right moment is always now. You don't have to wait for a grand moment to start living your legacy. It starts with the choices you make today, in every interaction, in every decision, and in every way you choose to show up in the world. One of McConaughey's most powerful realizations is that legacy isn't just about achievements or recognition. It's about the way you live your life and the impact you have on others. It's about how you show up in the world, the values you embody, and the difference you make, no matter how big or small. He believes that legacy is built on the foundation of integrity, kindness, and purpose. It's about being true to who you are, doing what you love, and having the courage to live authentically, regardless of what others may think. For McConaughey, the most meaningful legacy is one that is lived every day, not one that is built on fame or success. He talks about how the most important thing is to be present, to be fully engaged in the life you're creating, and to focus on what truly matters. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of success, but McConaughey believes that when we focus on what's meaningful and live with intention, we naturally create a legacy that will last long after we're gone. A key part of living your legacy now is understanding the importance of relationships. McConaughey talks about how the people in our lives, our family, friends, and communities, are the ones who help define our legacy. It's not just about the work we do or the things we achieve. It's about the connections we build and the love we give. He emphasizes that legacy is built on the relationships we cultivate and the way we show up for the people we care about. McConaughey also reflects on how we often wait for external validation or success to feel worthy, but true legacy comes from knowing who you are and being at peace with the life you're creating, regardless of external recognition. He talks about how living your legacy is about being proud of the person you are right now, not waiting for a future moment of success to define you. It's about living with integrity, living with purpose, and living in alignment with your values. The most powerful legacies, McConaughey believes, are built from the inside out. It's not about the world seeing you in a certain light. It's about being the person you want to be and living the life that reflects that. Legacy isn't something to be left behind when you're gone. It's something you create every single day by living with intention, authenticity, and a sense of purpose. McConaughey underscores the idea that legacy isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's easy to think of legacy as something we'll worry about later, something to be considered when we're older or when we've achieved everything we've set out to do. But he reminds us that legacy is built in the everyday moments of our lives, in how we live, love, and show up in the world today. It's about making each moment count, not waiting for the perfect time to start living the life we've always dreamed of. One of the key elements of living your legacy now is living with intentionality. McConaughey speaks often about the importance of being present and conscious in everything we do. So often, we go through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances rather than intentionally creating the life we want. We get distracted by the noise of the world, by what others think we should do, by what society tells us is important, and we forget that true success comes from living according to our own values and priorities. Living your legacy now means taking responsibility for the life you are creating. McConaughey talks about how easy it is to fall into the trap of blaming external circumstances for where we are in life. It's tempting to think that if we just had more time, more resources, or more opportunities, we could start living the life we want. But the truth is that legacy isn't something that happens by accident. It's something we create by choosing to live with intention every day. We can't wait for the perfect moment because the perfect moment is now. McConaughey's story is a powerful reminder that legacy isn't built on grand gestures or future accomplishments. It's built in the small moments that make up our everyday lives. It's about how we treat others, how we show up in our relationships, and how we live according to our core beliefs. McConaughey emphasizes that the most important thing in life isn't external success or recognition, it's living authentically and with purpose. When we do that, everything else falls into place. One of the most significant aspects of living your legacy now is being true to yourself. McConaughey talks about how, for years, he lived according to other people's expectations of who he should be. He played roles that Hollywood wanted him to play, followed a path that others had laid out for him. But when he finally started living for himself, when he embraced his true values and passions, he was able to create a legacy that was authentic and meaningful. True legacy, McConaughey believes, comes from being authentic and true to yourself. It's about showing up as the person you are, not as the person others want you to be. When we live authentically, we attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences into our lives. McConaughey talks about how the most fulfilling roles he's played and the most rewarding moments in his career came when he stopped trying to please others and started following his own path. Living your legacy now also means embracing imperfection. McConaughey talks about how, throughout his career, he faced numerous challenges, failures, and setbacks. But instead of letting these obstacles define him, he chose to learn from them and grow stronger. Legacy isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and using those experiences to create something meaningful. Legacy is also about impact. McConaughey reflects on how much of his life and career has been about making a difference in the lives of others, whether through his roles in film, his public speaking, or his personal relationships. McConaughey has always been focused on creating a positive impact. He believes that true legacy comes from the relationships we build, the love we give, and the kindness we show to others. For McConaughey, legacy is about living with integrity and purpose, but also with a sense of joy and gratitude. He talks about how important it is to appreciate the journey, to find joy in the work, and to be thankful for the opportunities you have. When you live with gratitude and joy, it not only enriches your own life, but also the lives of those around you. Another important aspect of living your legacy now is making conscious choices. McConaughey believes that every decision we make shapes our future and contributes to the legacy we're building. Whether it's how we spend our time, how we treat others, or how we approach challenges, every choice matters. Living your legacy now means taking responsibility for the life you're creating and making choices that align with your values and goals. McConaughey's personal story is a testament to the power of conscious decision-making. He talks about how he chose to stop accepting roles that didn't align with his passions and values, and how that decision led him to a more fulfilling career. It was a decision that allowed him to create a legacy that was authentic and meaningful, not one defined by external success or approval. In the end, McConaughey's message is simple: live your legacy now. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the ideal circumstances. Start today by living authentically, making intentional choices, and embracing the present moment. Legacy isn't something that happens in the future. It's something we create every single day through the way we live, love, and show up in the world. Living your legacy. McConaughey's message throughout Greenlights is a powerful reminder that we are the creators of our own legacy, and we don't have to wait until the end of our journey to start building it. Legacy is not something that is left behind when we're gone. It is something we live every day through our actions, our choices, and the way we show up in the world. It is about being intentional, being authentic, and living a life that aligns with our true values. As we navigate our own paths, McConaughey urges us to take the hills, face our fears, and trust that when we live in alignment with our purpose, the right opportunities, the green lights, will come to us. He teaches us that success isn't about constantly chasing the next big thing. It's about finding our frequency, embracing the flow of life, and recognizing when the right moments are ready to draw us forward. We are all on our own journeys of reinvention and self-discovery. Whether we're facing the dirt roads, running downhill, or taking the hills, McConaughey reminds us that we have the power to live our legacy now. It's not about waiting for the perfect time or achieving some distant goal. It's about making each moment count, living with intention, and choosing to create the legacy we want to leave behind today. In the end, McConaughey encourages us to ask ourselves, what kind of legacy am I living? Are we living authentically? Are we embracing the challenges that come our way and turning them into green lights? Are we taking the hills, trusting the process, and making a positive impact on the people around us? It's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the life and the legacy that we truly want.